Thank you for joining us for this episode of Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. I am your host, Allison Preisinger-Higgins. Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories is a podcast exploring society, culture, and current events through conversation. We aspire to create an open, respectful, and equitable space where guests may feel free to share their truth and lived experiences. Our core values are rooted in community, connection, and personal development. Stories help us learn, relate, and grow. We are here to listen, to take notice. Thank you for being with us. I would like to show gratitude to the traditional ancestral land of the Puyallup people past and present on which this episode was created. I encourage listeners to research the land on which you live and are listening right now. Recognizing this is just the beginning. The more you explore, challenge, and learn, the more questions may arise, but this is how we grow and connect. On this episode of Take Notice, we welcome Tigest Beyene. Tigest is a talented author, ghostwriter, and entrepreneur, and in this conversation, among other things, we discuss her book, Love, Sex, and Sorrow, her passion for writing, and her upcoming documentary. Tigest has a message of being a writer who is always open and honest, no matter what. I wanted to read a tiny excerpt from her book, which you can find on Amazon, either digital or hard copy. Here's the excerpt. Quote, waking up with the sounds of whispers and white coats around me, I'm trying to figure out what happened. My legs feel numb and my arm is stiff from the IVs. I look around and see different machines and doctors in white coats talking with each other. They don't even notice that I am awake. Tigest Beyene is a full-time employee assisting women with their wellness needs. She is a mother of 2 beautiful girls and enjoys being present while spending quality time with her family. Tigest is based out of Seattle, and she and I connected early in December of 2023, had this conversation, and I look forward to seeing how her work develops in the coming year, and for you all to hear this conversation. So please enjoy this episode with Tigest Beyene. Well, Tigest, thank you so much for joining me on Take Notice. It's really great to see you this evening, though I don't think we're too far from each other. You're just in Seattle, right?
Yeah, Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, I'm just down in Tacoma, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's great. What neighborhood are you in?
I'm in like SeaTac/Berian.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in the middle. I'm like borderline.
Yeah, between
Yeah.
Seattle and Tacoma here.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a weird area. Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of converges a lot of different communities and neighborhoods, doesn't
Mhm.
it? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We've been in Tacoma for a year. Prior to that, we were in West Seattle, kind of in the Delridge area.
Mhm.
So not too
Oh,
far
okay.
from
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you were.
I used
Where
to
you
be in
were.
that area. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you grew up in Seattle, is that right?
Yeah. I grew up in Seattle in like Rainier Vista area, more like Rainier, Seattle, like Martin Luther King area.
Yeah.
That's where I originally grew up, and then we moved out to Berrien. I was like in the 3rd grade.
Okay, so you've been in the
Mhm.
Burien area for a while then. Yeah.
Back and forth.
Nice. Who were you surrounded by growing up?
So my parents and my parents, 4 children, and then they split up. My dad remarried. He had 1 child with my stepmom, but she had 3 prior, so there's 8 of us.
Oh, wow. When did that happen? Like, how old were you when you acquired new siblings?
I was 15.
Oh, okay. So a little
Yeah,
later
they
on.
split up when I was 12,
Yeah.
and about when I was 15 is when the blended family began.
Yeah. Everything grew.
Everything grew, just all these kids,
Yeah.
but they were older than me.
Oh, were they? Yeah.
Well, they're not that much older. Like one was like 2 of them was in their 20s, and then my sister was graduating high school.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the 3 olders, and then I have another older one, and then 3 under.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of in the
Underneath,
middle
yeah.
then.
I'm literally the middle,
Like,
literally.
smack in the middle.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
What did your parents do when you were growing up?
So we came to the States when I was literally 1 year old. I was born in Sudan.
Okay.
We're from Ethiopia, and came here with sponsors, refugees. So we came here, and then they got starting to learn, the language. But we lived in Boston, and we actually was,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
we were actually sponsored by a priest family. So,
Oh, wow.
and
So does that mean that they funded you coming over and you stayed with them
Yeah,
for a
we
while,
stayed with them. They
or
got them a home. I was little,
yeah,
so like but it's so weird because I
yeah.
remember like like fall smell, but I don't know why.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
always wondering like, why do I always have the scent? And my mom would show me pictures of us in the leaves. But yeah, so I was like,
Oh,
this explains everything.
yeah.
But it's something when the fall comes, I think of not Seattle, like something brings me back to like when my toddler, I just smell it. But it's not like a bad smell. It's like a
That's
beautiful, like,
interesting.
oh, it's, you know?
Yeah, and the fall over there is beautiful
Yeah,
and probably pretty different from where you
yeah,
moved from, I imagine.
yeah.
And
So we were there. They sponsored us. We lived with them. They gave us like a place. And that's when like starting to learn like my parents learned English, trying to, get jobs and stuff like that. But they're like our community, like helping us, like
in the Boston area, was there a big Sudan community? Or you said you're from
we're
Sudan and
Ethiopian. We just lived,
Ethiopian.
I was born in Sudan because they fled,
Okay.
yeah, to go to Sudan and then refugee to come to America.
Okay. So
Yeah.
in Boston, were your parents and you in like a community where there was a lot of Ethiopian people that you could support and get support from, or
I really don't remember. I was so little, but
sure.
there was pictures my mom showed me recently because we have a documentary I have a documentary coming out,
Yeah.
and I had pictures on. I was like, hey, we need photos. So my mom told me there's a picture of a group of people coming to the house, and it was her friends. They all found out that she's in Boston, that came from the same, and they drove down
Oh, wow.
because they were all in the same like area.
Wow.
And they all got together. They brought food and, seeing us and the kids because they all was in Sudan.
Mm.
And then, now everybody's come to America. So now they got to like, oh, okay, you made it here. We drive over.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
So it was like, yeah. So some of the pictures you will see, like even us leaving Boston, going to the train, we had the sponsors there with us and the people that didn't want us to leave. But yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's really neat that your parents were able to meet up with people that they hadn't
Yeah.
probably
She said they
seen in
just
a
showed up
while.
at the
And
door.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
amazing.
was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, they just showed up at the door. And I was like,
That's funny.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Some people that wouldn't be so cool, but I imagine it was probably okay.
Yeah, I guess. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't
Right.
say nothing when she told me. I was like, then what you did? She was like, I don't know. I'm in America. How would I know? I was like, oh.
So what ended up bringing them out to, did they come straight to the Seattle area from Boston, or were there any
Yeah,
other?
so my mom didn't want to leave Boston. She tells me that a lot. She loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It was my dad, and they had friends here, like family in the community here. The African community here was growing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's when we came to Seattle, and we actually lived like in Capitol Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And my mom's like, oh, yeah, that apartment was not like, it was just us and people come visit. And then we got inside the Rainier area, got housing, and then they just worked and got a house in Berrien. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did your two younger siblings, were they born in Seattle or were they
Yeah. The
around?
two younger ones were born in America. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But they were born, and so the one after me was born when we lived in Rainier Vista.
Okay.
Both of them was born in Rainier Vista area when we were there. And then they just grew up more here in Berrien.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went
That
to
makes
school
sense.
out in Seattle, me and my older brother. Yeah.
Did you like bus it up there or were you living up there at the
So
time?
no, so we live in Rainier. So okay, back in the day, I don't know if they don't do this now, but anybody who lived like in that area of like Rainier or Central District area, I went to school up north.
Right. I've met a couple
Yeah.
people that
So
went
we're
through
right
that.
there on Alaska Street on Rainier Vistas, and we
Uh-huh.
went to school in Ballard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
isn't that yeah?
Yeah,
And
I've talked
I
to
liked
somebody
it.
else about, you liked it? Okay,
I
good.
like yeah,
Yeah.
because we're all in this neighborhood, these
hmm
kids in these housing, and we're all like, "Oh, this is a nice school. Where y'all going at?" Like, but
Right,
we were those
right.
kids that went to those schools.
Yeah, so it was
Hmm.
so it's not like you were on the bus with a bunch of people you didn't know. You
Yeah, no, it
went
was
with your
our
community and
little block. Yep.
okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely different. Yeah, a few people that I've met that grew up in the area that
Hmm.
they're talking about busing and stuff. I think some of their
Yeah.
experiences they weren't so fond of for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
that's
See, I
nice that you
stopped
had.
when I was like younger though. So I know my brother was a little different. He said like it was different for him going to middle school out there and stuff
Was
or
it?
like yeah, like it was just a little different. And then he
Yeah.
finished middle school here because we moved, and then yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So when your parents ended up getting work and everything in Seattle or in this area, Beyene area, what kind of work did they get into? Or
Oh,
what did they do
so
before they came out this way, I guess, too? Yeah.
so they both worked in healthcare. My mom was a nurse aide, and my dad worked in the like environmental science area. Well, environmental, so like janitor work.
Okay, yeah.
So he worked for Swedish over 30 years now. He's actually about to retire.
Oh,
And
wow.
my mom, same thing with Providence. She's not going to retire yet. She's still young. But yeah. So they always worked in healthcare and stuff like that, and just worked in that building facilities of,
Yeah, yeah.
hmm
30 years.
hmm
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're both like, I think my mom, she always had two jobs as long as I can remember.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Doing the same thing, but
Similar.
just two.
hmm
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hmm
With that many kids, especially when you're younger, I imagine you gotta
Yeah,
make it
so I
happen.
ask her a lot. Like, I'd be like, how old were you when you had all four of us? She was, I had you guys all before I hit 30. And I was
Mm,
like, oh,
I
hold up.
know.
Okay.
Isn't that
How
wild when you grow up and you're like, wait a
wild.
minute?
I felt like a little punk for me having two kids. I was like, oh, well, we're just nothing compared to our parents.
All the things they went
I
through,
really thought
right?
it like sat there and really, I be thinking like when I see these older parents, they're like, yeah, I had it at 16. I'm like, what?
I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
coming from a whole other country,
Right.
like, I'm
And
like,
go
what do you guys
through
do?
that
She's like, we
whole
don't have to do nothing.
transition.
Yeah. She was like, we
Yeah.
don't know nobody but each other.
You're right.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, snaps.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way now that I'm an adult and I have my own kids.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think about it at all that way until like, as literally like maybe just a couple years ago. And I sit there and I really think, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And it was
Yeah.
four of us. She had four. They had four. So it goes like this: three are step, one is half, three are biological blood.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So we're just all one. But we wasn't raised to be like step or
Mm.
half. So we literally be like, oh, it's my sister, my brother.
Yeah. That makes
We're
sense.
not raised. Yeah. And then we know which mom we're talking about.
Mm.
We're like, oh, mom, we got to go to the house. When we say the house, we know it's my dad and my stepmom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a language that I think we've all created that I just don't know how we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, just organic.
hmm
Just you
Yeah.
figure each other out and you figure it out
Yeah,
as you go.
we're like, oh, mom said, and I just be like, I have to know like who's talking to who and what kind of conversation.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just look at the text of it. You got to know
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
context.
we have to know the
Yeah.
whole context, who sent it, what's behind it.
Right.
Our group chat is funny though, so it's okay.
That's pretty great. Is your dad
hmm
and his second wife, are they still together?
Yeah, they've been married like a little over 20.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My mom never remarried.
Okay.
I mean, like we call him our stepdad.
Okay. Okay.
He's been in our lives for over a decade too. Almost 10,
Right.
over 10. My daughter is 16, so almost 20. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
she
so
has
we
a
know him
partner. She
as,
just, yeah.
yeah, she's like, we say Papa. We're like, oh, Papa. Or we're like,
Yeah.
oh, him. We just know. We
Yeah.
don't know how to like, but he knows we know. Like,
Right,
it's just,
right.
I'm telling you, it's all like a silent, it's a mind reading game.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know who's who. Like, we all kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That probably shows a close bond between you all, right? Seems
Yeah.
like. Yeah,
We
yeah.
all respect it. Yeah, because he's like a dad. He's literally like, if I need something, I'm like, hey, he's like, oh, I can go get the kids. I'm like, okay, go
Yeah,
get them.
that's great.
hmm
And are all your siblings still in this area, in the Seattle area,
Um,
or?
so I have one actually. So the youngest, that's my half sister. She's actually in college in Oregon. It's her
Okay,
second year in college,
nice.
and I have a brother also in Portland. I have the sister in California and in Atlanta, and then the four of us is here in Seattle.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I had
kind
to
of
think
spread
about
out,
who's
but
who.
not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
But we try to get together.
Yeah, not too far. Like most are West Coast, at least it seems
Yeah,
like.
it's
Yeah.
not that. Yeah, it's not that far.
So growing up, what did you end up doing after you graduated high school? Which high school did you go to?
I went to Franklin High School.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's funny because my daughter goes to Garfield High School and they're rivals.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I just, you know, which is not a bad thing because the school is a great school. Both schools are great schools.
Yeah.
But it's funny because she'll say things. And
Oh,
I'm like, hold
yeah.
on now. like, like, I'm
Right.
still a Quaker. Like, we're not doing this. But so I end up high school. I end up actually having a child at 18. I had her, and then 2 weeks later, I turned 19. So that's why I have a 16-year-old, and I'm 35. A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
and I have a 7-year-old.
Okay.
So after that, I was out there in Atlanta. That's where me and her dad met. We got together, had a baby. And I just, that was part of my book, right? So it wasn't a good match, had her, but I knew I had to like work when I moved back here in Seattle, and she's actually born in Seattle.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice. Nice.
And then, I just worked and went to school, started community college, at Highline Community College, and then went to Central Washington online.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Did you have a focus, or was it just kind of the general?
I was like all over the place for a good minute, and then I really liked public health, and I really wanted to focus on African American women in the like maternity, like making sure we get proper health care and stuff like that.
Did you end up going into doing work in that field?
So I actually work now for the hospital.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's not for public health, but I work in healthcare, I do want to get more into advanced though.
Oh, really? Like take more courses or?
Yeah, or just like get a more position that follows for it more, more behind scenes helping people, like make sure like being an advocate for them, make sure they have what they need, especially during delivery for women of color. That's like my biggest thing too.
So I don't know much about the field, so maybe this is off, but in a way, social services
like I like them both, but yeah, I do want to get more into that social services, get more of how do I say it's like just more like of helping people,
Yeah.
and like making sure like they could be heard and talked to, and it's okay to like have questions about your health and know what's going on and stuff like that. 'Cause I feel like sometimes we don't have that, in healthcare. And I think that's like my biggest like advocate right now for people.
What's the hospital that you work in right now?
I work remotely for Swedish.
Okay. Did you have experiences in your pregnancy that kind of triggered wanting to do this work, or was it something else, or?
I just remember certain scenes like, well, my first pregnancy was great. I still have a great team, our OBGYN. It was like sometimes I did notice like this when I had my second child, it was a lot of like uncertain, it was more like, okay, I was about to deliver. I felt like, okay, she's obviously gonna come. So we went to the hospital. And I just remember they could not get my centimeters right until the nurse comes in, and she's like, "No, she needs to be admitted." And then the doctor on call, she was like, "Well, okay, I think it's best for her to go home. We give her a shot, and then, yeah." And then my doctor finally came, and she was like, "No, she's not going home. Like she's like, no, she's not doing that because if I wake up from this nap and I'm at home, this baby could be out."
Right. Yeah. Why would they send you home?
So my doctor literally, bless her heart, she was about to get ready for her kids' camping trip.
Oh,
and there is back to school time around that time. So she came in, was like, okay, let's do this. And she was like, you are not going home. This baby, no. And my blood pressure was up. She was like, no.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just remember that. And I was like, okay.
And so you want to be that person if somebody else didn't have the doctor that you had that made the effort to come in and
it just takes like the awareness. Like even though my doctor was a Caucasian woman, I knew her though for a while, and and she, even my kid's doctor now, she always told us like, no, make sure you speak up, make sure you say this and this and this, and like advocate for yourself. And sometimes you have to have somebody like that, and that's why even having like that extra, because that person could be really scared. or,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't know what to say or what words they need to use.
Yeah, yeah, to navigate the medical
Yeah,
system without, doing all of the homework. If you don't have
exactly.
time or the knowledge to do that, having
Exactly.
somebody on your side, that'd be
Exactly.
massive. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
You went to Central, you did online classes, and then from there,
hmm
did you go straight into working for Swedish, or what kind of work did you do after that?
So I went back and forth to Swedish. So I was there for a while, and then when I got pregnant with my second child, worked until full term. Then I took off. I first took maternity leave, and then daycare just wants to be expensive for
Yeah.
humans, which I get it. They deserve to get paid because they're with these children all day, and especially these
Yes.
babies. So I'm here for it. So I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, that will test you. So I did that, and then I end up going back to work after 3 years. She went to daycare, the little one, which was really hard for me.
Mm.
And then yeah, just start back to work and finish up my classes. You know how to do, and then I wrote this book.
Is that when you got into the
Right.
book?
That's when I wrote the book.
Wow.
I was like, I'll
Yeah.
just even more on my plate. Why not?
Yeah, right.
Let me just write my book. But it was it was actually like, and I say this in other people interviews too, and they ask me like, I was in therapy and it was like trauma I was going through. So I wrote it like an expression,
Yeah.
but I wanted to be like a story. So it was kind of like end up being like a story of my life and, post trauma things and just really like talking some shit. But
Hmm.
it's my humor in a way too. A lot of people see things or they hear things, but they don't really hear it from the actual person.
Right. They'll get it secondhand, or it'll be a story that
hmm
someone made up that's close or something like that.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
So, did this kind of urge to create, sounds like it came from working through a lot of feelings and trauma and things
hmm
like that, but
hmm
did you have a creative side prior to this? Like growing up, did you like writing or?
Yeah, I always was into like poetry. But I was quiet about it. I wasn't that kid that like, hey, I wrote some music, or I was I didn't talk about that. Like showing like if I had talent or creative side, I was very quiet about that.
Mm,
I would be in
okay.
my room listening to music all day and just be just in my room.
Just kind of kept to
Yeah,
yourself more.
I wouldn't show that side. I'm surprised I'm showing it even now
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, because it's kind of scary, like,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, of course you can't care what people think, but it's really like for yourself.
Yeah, and it seems like
hmm
even though it can be scary, if you're focused in on the goal of trying
hmm
to help yourself and help others eventually,
hmm
probably with your story, then the
hmm
rest doesn't
hmm
really matter so much, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah. So the title of your book is Love, Sex, and Sorrow, and it came
hmm
out 2022. Is that right?
About a year now.
Yeah, so you started writing it. I think I saw that you started writing it years before it came out, though, right? So it was kind of
Yeah.
a long process for you.
Yeah.
How did that go? Was it more like, did you think of it first as, here, I'm going to publish this someday, or was it
hmm
like strictly like, this is, I'm just writing this to get it out of me kind of thing?
Yeah. No, I definitely didn't think I was going to publish it. I didn't even know what I was thinking, if
Yeah.
I'm being brutally honest. I didn't even know what was going on in my head. But I had it in there for a while and I just had stories and titles, but I honestly did not think. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this a book or let me send it to
Yeah.
the publishing company. And I knew a few people who published books and I was like, hey, what's your guys' process? A lot of them gave me good tips or resources who I went through editing and all that stuff, which I was like, okay, cool. And I always said I'm gonna do something. I tried to go and do it. So I had it in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just send it to them if they wanna. She said, give it about 3 days if we want to.
Oh, that's soon. That's pretty
continue
quick.
on.
Huh.
Well, they had to look at it, and my book wasn't that long though. My book is
Oh,
like a day
sure.
read.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I don't think they read. I think they're very, when they look at like the script of it or like the beginning stages, like, hey, I'm gonna send you these first five chapters, to get the
Mm.
gist of, okay, we would like to publish
Hmm.
your book. So I got an email back and she was like, hey, I need to ask you more questions. And I was like, yeah, okay. And she called me and she was like, I need to know what happened after this and this and this. And I was like, oh, I thought you just wanted like to. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I
That's a
gave
good
it all to
sign. Yeah.
her. Yeah. And then they came back to me a few days. Again, it was like maybe like a week. And she was like, okay, hey, we would like to publish your book and edit. And these are, our terms. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's
Didn't think
exciting.
nothing of it.
Yeah. 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 And it just kind of,
hmm
did it take a while after that point for things to develop?
It took a few months. Like,
Mm. Is this a local publisher or where are they
yeah,
based?
well, they're based in, I want to say she's North Carolina.
Okay.
Someone who I know also published with them, who published multiple books before. So they recommended me, yeah,
Nice. That
to
helps.
this
Yeah.
company. That's why, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I imagine it's hard to know where to even start when you're doing it for the first time, kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
like
you don't,
it's a
yeah,
whole nother
exactly. And that's
world.
why
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, I know I have so many gaps in this first book. So that's what I'm always thinking, like, if I write me another story, I need more detail. But
Oh
I was
yeah, yeah.
scared. Yeah, I was so scared.
Well, when you're writing is so personal, I imagine.
hmm
It's not like you're
hmm
writing some story that you came up with. It's like a real thing that so
hmm
that can be I can imagine that's even scarier than just like here's something I kind of came up with. So,
Yeah, yeah. And then
right.
it's I think scary because it's actually like a true event that happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
a lot of people know it in this town, in this city, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like, oh snap, she's talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it something that was a little more hush hush before the book came out, or like you didn't talk about it as much?
People knew, but I didn't, it was been 8 years at the time when it already happened. And now it's been 10 years since it happened.
Yeah.
So I think people are just more like, oh, okay, now we get to really hear
Mm,
between you guys what happened and, everybody who was involved and
right. Yeah.
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 hmm
A decade later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. And when something so personal is the book, I'm looking forward to reading it. I haven't yet, which is I think, kind of interesting because now I get to ask you these questions because our listeners aren't going to probably know either. So
Yeah.
for now, and then they'll read the book.
Right.
Is the book surrounded by this one event or is it more of
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's one event. People are involved, switched
Hmm.
up names. It talks
Yeah.
about who I used to be with, and it kind of like triggers on who pretty much I end up with and what happened.
Okay.
Because you will meet different characters in there.
Okay.
hmm
I'm very interested. Yeah. Some of the reviews that I read was like people were describing that it was like you were just talking to them. So I thought that was very intriguing
Yeah,
too. It's like,
and that was my
yeah.
whole thing. I want that. I want
Hmm.
like people to have an easy read and just like, oh, I could just pull up my book and talk to my homegirl, and it's just like,
If you were to do another book like you were talking about, do you have in mind what you might write about?
Yeah, so I kind of wanna, people want a part two. I
Mm.
do want to have a part two, but I want to have it to someone else that was involved, that I was with before him.
Mm.
So I'm thinking about doing a story about that, but not like, obviously I'm not the character. So, well, I will be the character, but not the character.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm thinking about that, or maybe do like a series. That's like my next plan in my mind, to do a series with either this one or start. So pretty much you'll meet like different people that I used to be with.
Hmm.
So I never explained one person who I was with before I had. This is only when I had like one child before. This is like when I was probably like in maybe when I was 20.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a long time ago. And just meeting certain people, encounterments. I kind of want to go off that. I'm thinking, or I'm also thinking about writing a book about the journey after. Like, what did I do after me getting shot? So I'm
Yeah.
like debating. Like, I get like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. I'm just like, let me get my mind, right.
Yeah. 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 And it's
Yeah.
kind of like from what it sounds like anyway, it's kind of like you're sharing your diary in a way. So, but a
Mm-hmm.
little, I mean, you get it all out and then you got to form it, I'm sure, very
Mm-hmm.
differently than a diary. But,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah, and I don't want
yeah.
it to be like, some people just like, I'm gonna make a tell-all. I don't want that. I just want to
Mm,
make like stories for people to relate to,
yeah. Just kind
you
of
know.
mold it
Mm-hmm.
into something
Mold it in,
relatable.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And you mentioned, or I don't know if we've mentioned it yet in our conversation, but the thing that happened was you were shot. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't want to give any spoilers from the book away or
Mm-hmm.
anything, but can
Mm-hmm.
you explain or describe that experience in any way that doesn't give any spoilers or for your book or?
Yeah, so I was shot with by someone who I was with.
Hmm.
We've broken up at the time. And, when things turn left and you're in a situation, you really can't, it's more like what they say, like a fight or flight or something like that. So
Hmm.
I just knew I had to, like, fight for my life. And it pretty much tells this build up of how it got there.
Okay. Did you end up I imagine you ended up in the hospital and,
Yeah, I was in the hospital and I wasn't there that long. I mean, I spent the night there. So
okay.
I was lucky. So once I got discharged the next day, that's when I think like reality really hit. Like reality didn't even hit me during the incident or even in the hospital. I think it hit me like after. That's when it like really messed with me. Yeah, and like even at home, just like being around people, like it didn't really like settle in for a while. I went to work.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I went to work like after like 10 days.
Oh, wow. Mm.
I was just acting, I was just okay, let me just and I didn't know, honestly, I didn't know why. Now that I think about it. I think it was just like, oh, okay, I gotta go back. I just, gotta go. Like,
Like back to a routine or something.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, back to routine. Like it didn't really, I think even now that I look back, like, I think I definitely should have stayed my ass in the house because I
Yeah.
don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what that would be like to go through that. So
Yeah.
all the things that come up, depending on your financial situation and all these things, is like how
hmm
long can you be out of work anyway? And all these things that you have to
hmm
consider, but priority being you. And sometimes that's hard to do
hmm
to stay healthy and stuff. Wow. Was that job the healthcare job or was it a different
No, I
job at
was
the time?
working at the airport at the
Okay.
time. This was like I was 25 when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working like airport job and it was just me and my oldest at the time. The manager, she's really super nice, really understanding. So I was okay with, she was like, are you sure you want to get back? And I was like, yeah, yeah. She's like, no, I think you should take like another week off or two.
Mm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to because I'm tired of sitting in the house. But I continue on doing like everyday things. I look back at it now and I didn't know nothing about like PTSD. I didn't know nothing about like little things like affected me, but I didn't really say much.
Mm. Yeah.
Now that I look back, and yeah, I just continue on doing what I have to do. I didn't really think about it. It didn't really hit me. I don't think it really hit me.
Was your injury something that you still are affected by now, or like physically,
No,
or?
not like physical. Sometimes I'll get like tender in that area, or
Mm-hmm.
but not the only thing. Well, mentally now, but
Right.
other than that, no. I got like I said, I got blessed. I got real lucky.
Mm.
It would have been really bad.
Well, yeah. So you ended up going to because this book came out of doing therapy and things like that. How long did
hmm
it take before you decided to take that step of therapy?
It took me. Oof, almost like 7 years or something. I already had my second child.
Oh, really? 7 years or so? Wow.
Yeah, it took me a long time. So I went the first
Mm,
time because my doctor told me I need to talk to somebody. I didn't know I had PTSD because I was getting like anxiety attacks, and feeling
yeah.
like shock because I still drove the car that it happened. I had this, okay, so spoiler alert, I was driving in a car and
Right.
I had a car, and this car is part of the scene, and I still had that car. I
Oh,
still was
okay.
driving the car. I would have like crazy sweat. I would just, I just knew I was angry every time I was in that car. And I will go and get checked up, and my doctor was like, oh, okay, how are you feeling? I was like, I'm fine. And she was like, she finally asked me like, how'd you get to work? And I was like, I mean, how'd you get to your appointment? I was like, oh, I drove. And she was like, what do you mean you drove? I was like, I drove. She's like, where'd you drive in? I was like, in the car. And she was like, what car? And I was like, the car. She's
Mm.
like, the car that was part of the scene. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, wow. I was like, well,
Ah,
how else am I gonna go to work? How am I gonna pick up my kid? What are you talking about? This is my car.
right.
And she was like, no, we have to figure something out. And she was like, my doctor, she's still my doctor to this day. She's like, I don't know what we have to do, but she was like, it's gonna really affect you mentally. And I already knew it was, I could tell, because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't sleep.
Mm.
So that's when I had to get me another car.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that's one of those things that's maybe in the back of your mind, but until somebody points it out or brings it to your
Mm-hmm.
attention, it's hard to come to terms
Mm-hmm.
with or really realize, huh?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
then I spoke to someone about how to deal with like post trauma. I didn't understand that. And then it all slowly came back
Mm.
after years and stuff. So I didn't really like really dealt with it. It's hard, especially when it's been so long after. You don't know, like, oh, I thought I fixed myself, but no, actually you haven't.
Yeah, I imagine if you just kind of try to keep life going as it was for so long
Mm-hmm.
prior
Mm-hmm.
to that incident, without dealing with it and
Mm-hmm.
without knowing how to deal with
Mm-hmm.
it, maybe, or, any of that stuff. Yeah, that would be,
Mm-hmm.
it catches up though.
And they'll hit you hard. It will affect you big time.
And so the book came out of that, and then you have a documentary
Mm-hmm.
that you're working on currently. Is that right?
Yep, it's based on the book. Yeah, it got. I was doing an interview with Seattle Connect with Mr. David Jackson, and he was. So I got asked to do this before. About actually this time last year, I got asked, and me and this person would discuss here and there. He was like, "Hey, I really want to do this," and I was like, "Oh, okay," but it never really like came to light. And then there's a lot to it. So then when I got again, I was like, I keep getting asked. I'm not thinking nothing of it, but when it all comes at the right time and you have a director, you have somebody who wants to produce it, you have someone who's
Mm.
taking the lead, it's like, hey, we already took care of this. You just need to show up. And I'm like, okay. But I also had to but I had to put myself in a mindset of I'm going to really be talking about my life like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to make sure that if I'm comfortable enough to tell my story, which I am, but I don't want it to be of a I feel sorry for her. It's more of awareness. It's more of, follow what you want to do in your life, like that. And it's more of a just having women come together and just talk about things that you never really get to talk about. And there's so many women that's like silent. I didn't it's very devastating when I hear certain things. People who
Mm.
I knew, it's like, no, he used to always hit me, or I never knew, and I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like devastating, but it comes out beautiful at the end, right? So,
Mm-hmm. So you're working with David Jackson on the documentary? Is that
mm-hmm,
right? Oh, that's
yep,
great.
and then we have another director. We have a director, sorry, who directed, and then we will be having the event. So. Just in the process right now. So we should be getting it soon and ready to go by next month. So everybody could
Wow.
come out and view it and just see, how everything happened and based on this book.
Wow. So you already did all
hmm
the filming and everything?
Yeah, did all the filming.
Nice.
Now just doing like a interview tour like with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just promoting and sharing about it. Yeah.
Promoting, sharing, people want to ask and more about me and just my book and getting to know me, which I do want to, I gotta, get myself out there because I'm when you get stuck in your own bubble, you're just in your bubble,
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's how I am.
It can be hard to get outside of that little bubble. I
It's
can be
really
kind of a
hard.
homebody sometimes, so I get
Yes, I'll
it.
be like, ah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got blessed, having people who wanted to pick this book up to make a documentary. I got real
Yeah.
blessed because I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know where y'all about to get this funding. It's not gonna come over here. I don't know nothing about nothing. I
Yeah.
know how to write. I
Yeah.
could give
Yeah.
you contact, but I can't give you nothing else. So that was literally the conversations I'd be having with people. I'm like, I don't know. But if it's meant to be, it will be. So
Yeah, the right team of people will come
the right team of
around.
people, everything will
Yep.
fall just how it's supposed to be. And that's one thing I always tell people. Everything will fall into place.
It's a great way to look at it.
hmm
Yeah. And I think having the outlook of what you have for your book and for the documentary that's coming out soon,
hmm
of
hmm
like kind of just being a kind of a support or a resource for others in a way. I think that's
Yeah.
a great way to approach it because it's not like
hmm
here's my tell all and I'm going to tell you all the juicy
Yeah.
details. It's like
I
here's
didn't want all
something
that. I
that can
want,
yeah.
you know, different women, all types of women just come out and talk. Even if you wasn't in, domestic violence or haven't had a trauma or if you knew somebody or at least you're self-aware and
Mhm.
we're just coming together and just having a good time, and the event is not just for women, it's for men and women, like our community. So
Sure. Yeah.
it's it's gonna be it's gonna be a vibe. Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what they're saying? It's gonna be a vibe.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
how.
So you're still getting the details together for for the screening, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll have to
Getting
catch
details
those
together.
details as they
Oh
come
yeah.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Nice.
yes, definitely. We're gonna definitely send out. You'll see it everywhere for tickets and all. It all will come together.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
hmm
that. That's exciting. That's super exciting. So you get to just like do your thing for the holidays and that's going to kind of come up
Kind of
right
start
around the
off my
corner, right?
2024, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting.
So
What other things are you excited about coming up in the new year or in the next few months or just in general or personally career wise?
yeah, what I'm looking forward to, honestly, I really want to take this film to different places
Mm,
and really just show, out. Who knows? Oprah might interview me or Gail might, I'll take a Gail
yeah.
too.
There you
I
go.
will,
Both. Yeah.
both. I'll take both. Listen, at this rate, I don't care. Como 4 News could reach out to me. I'll be
There you
ready.
go.
But yeah, just take it around and, hopefully it gets picked up more and people get, word of it. And I will want more, have like another book out, selling context, writing for people. I love writing. I do want it to eventually be part of a like woman advocate group,
Mm.
hopefully I could speak at different places. Someone wants to bring me along, I definitely would love that. Yeah, hopefully meet Tyler Perry as well. I don't know.
There you go.
Who knows? Who knows? But I just want to enjoy it. Like I want to enjoy the moment. And yeah, and I just want peace. That's it. hmm
One last question for you. What's
hmm
something that brings you joy? I think we've heard some of the things, but what to you brings you
Yeah.
joy?
My kids, seeing them, looking at them, like, I see me in their eyes in a way of, like I'm looking at them. I don't know how to explain that, but it's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
I'm seeing them grow up and like I'm like, okay, I just need to make sure like, things are getting done. Also to see other people happy.
Mm.
I like when I see people happy and when everybody's cool.
Yeah.
Like obviously you're gonna have bad days, but I will want your good days to outweigh your bad days. That's honestly what brings me joy. My kids, my family's healthy, we're all good. I want to see other people succeed. I love that. I love seeing my friends like come up, if they want a new opportunity or career change. I love seeing all that and just being there for people. That's what bring me seeing people happy makes me happy. Like, oh, okay, good, you're good.
I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Where is the best spot for people to find you? I know you're on Instagram.
Yes, I'm on Instagram, LoveTickets25. And honestly, right now, that's it. Or if you want to email me, it's ticketsbeyene@yahoo.com. So it's my first and last name. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My book, Love, Sex, and Sorrow, is on Amazon. Also, it's a link on my IG page as well.
Perfect. We'll have those links in our show notes. So
Yeah,
anybody that's
totally.
listening, they can just click right now and go check out the
Yeah.
book. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I'm looking forward to reading it and to following how this documentary unfolds in the next few months and sharing information about that for you and just kind of keeping up with the next books and all the things. So
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
excited. Yeah. Wonderful. Is there anything that I missed asking you about or anything that's on your mind that you want to include?
No, I think we pretty much covered all the bases. I appreciate you taking the time
Oh, thank you
to
for taking the time.
interview me. It's a great
Absolutely.
blessing.
It's great to hear your story and hear more about your
Yeah.
projects and things that you're excited about and everything. So thanks for being with me today. I will look forward to keeping up with all the things. Thanks so much.
Yes, you'll definitely get an invite. No problem.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for joining us for Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with someone you know. Connect with us on social media. We would love to hear from you. We are at Take Notice Podcast. You can also find us at takenoticepodcast.org. Reviews help us reach more listeners, so please rate and review on your favorite podcast app. Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories is produced, hosted, and edited by Allison Preisinger Higgins. Music by Version Big 5 featuring Darius Higgins. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for taking notice.